Yo, 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 welcome back, you guys. Today, we're going to get into some oldie but goodies off of my racks, off the shelf racks. I'm actually pretty excited for this episode because this group is often looked over to me, in my opinion. You know, they're not overrated, they're underrated to me personally, especially with their impact on hip hop. All right. What I'm talking about is their impact on hip hop. They have defended a lot of rappers, DJs, music, artists, whether it be visual artists, poets, literaries, all types of people have protected their rights beyond hip hop. What I'm talking about is First Amendment rights. This group made, to me, created the call and response in hip hop. And what I mean by that, do the ladies over here, yada, 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 do the fellas over here, yada, 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 and there's a call and response. I think they're the people who introduced it. I'm not going to say they're the first, but even if they're not the first, they're the ones who made it is what it is today. You don't hear groups like this anymore. They are groundbreaking, legendary, and a lot of us owe them roses, whether we are actually involved in entertainment or fans. You know, just casual listeners or whatever. We all need to give thanks to this group. Without further ado, I'm going to go into this group. The group that I'm talking about is called Two Live Crew. The original Two Live Crew was Luther Campbell, aka Uncle Luke, or Luke Skywalker, or just Luke. You also had Fresh Kid Ice, rest in peace, Fresh Kid Ice, aka Chris Wrong, aka the Chinaman. Um, he's rest in peace now. He died, I want to say, July 13th of 1997. Another late great of the group who passed recently this past June, I want to say June 3rd or something like that, somewhere around there. June 3rd of this year, 2024, Brother Marquise, who Jay-Z used his song and his tracks, or I should say their song in this track called 99 Problems. And I'm talking about 99 Problems and ain't one. That's Brother Marquise, right? And actually, it wasn't Two Live Crew. That was off of Ice-T's album. It's Brother Marquise and Ice-T. Now that I'm thinking of it out loud. But rest in peace to Brother Marquise. And the DJ, also known as Mr. Mix. Now, this group, they are probably who I'm going to say are the godfathers of what we call Miami bass. However, this is a whole nother topic. It's known as Miami bass, but it didn't start in Miami bass. It didn't start in Miami, I mean. It started in Riverside, California. This group was originally formed in Riverside, California. The legendary Uncle Luke found this group. He was a DJ, and he hired them to come out and do a party because their song was making its rounds down in Miami at his Pac Jam, I want to say, club. Club and so forth like that, and he brought them out. Eventually, was signed them as a manager, and then eventually became a member, and yada yada yada. But the sounder actually originated in Riverside and Los Angeles, California, during the techno beats area, like Egyptian Lover era out there in the West Coast. But that's really what led to the Miami bass sound. It actually ended up going out there. But that's a whole nother topic, whole nother discussion. Let's get back to this. So as I'm digging through my collection, I came across something. I have both versions, and I only have the original versions. I don't have the record labels after that and so forth, the re-releases or anything. But I'm going to focus right now on two versions of the Two Live Crews, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, and the Two Live Crews, As Clean as They Wanna Be. With that being said, these two versions, there's a clean and a dirty side, obviously, right? The Nasty as They Wanna Be contains 18 tracks, while the Clean as They Wanna Be only has 10. Both of these albums were put out, I believe, if I can remember, I want to say February 7th of 1989. Don't quote me, boy, because I ain't said beep. You know, I don't know for sure. I want to say it's early February 1989. Now, As Nasty as They Wanna Be was the album that saved all entertainment, all artists, First Amendment rights, even regular people's First Amendment rights. You know what I mean? It was defended. It was once deemed, this album, As Nasty as They Want to Be, was once deemed obscene by the Broward County or somebody in Florida. I want to say his name was Jose Gonzalez, who was the judge who made it obscene and so forth like that. And there was a whole bunch of parents and everybody else. Now, forget the other guy who was involved. I can't remember if he was a police a journalist or whoever. He took it up upon himself, you know, don't want my kids listening to this stuff. You know, it's crap, it's garbage, but it's pornography. You know, that's how they were framing it. Now, after it was deemed obscene, record store companies, record stores were basically in Florida specifically. If you was a record store and you sold this, you could possibly face jail time, fines, and other things, right? So some record store owners were actually placed in jail. They were on the news, things like that. But they're like, hey, man, we own it. We bought it. We're selling it. You know what I'm saying? Basically, we're not your parents. We're not the parents. You need to take care of your kids. We're going to sell this. And they believed in the First Amendment rights and the right to just sell.
A Florida jury says the rap group Two Live Crew can't be as nasty as they want to be if they want their records sold in stores. In what's being called a landmark case, the jury convicted a record store owner on obscenity charges for selling a Two Live Crew album, an album banned by a federal judge because of its lyrics. Charles Freeman was arrested in June for selling the album As Nasty as They Want to Be. He insists his arrest violates the First Amendment right of freedom of speech and says his conviction is racially motivated.
It doesn't reflect my community as a black man in Broward County. It's unfair. The jury was all white. There were no blacks on the jury pool at all, only one. And they don't know where EC Records is. They don't know nothing about the damn ghetto.
The leader of Two Live Crew also faces trial in Florida. He's charged with performing obscene material. Freeman's lawyers say there will be an appeal.
You know what I mean? But anyhow, Broward County had a sheriff back then. Navarro. Wow, what's Navarro's first name? What's Navarro's first name? I want to say his first name was Nick Navarro. Nathan or Nick, it's definitely Nick Navarro. Nick Navarro was a sheriff and basically told the Two Live Crew one day when they were having a concert at a strip club, if you guys sing these songs or any of these things, we're going to arrest you because now it's against the law. It's deemed obscene. He ended up arresting them. They said, forget it. We're going to sing it. You know, we have our rights to sing this song, to sing these songs, to do what we want to do, yada, yada, yada. Needless to say, later on, the As Nasty as They Want to Be album was found in the Supreme Court because they challenged the state courts and took it to the Supreme Court, and they were found not guilty. It's not obscene, and they saved First Amendment rights for all of us. You know what I mean? In some way or another. It's not the first time, but especially for entertainment, especially for rap. Rap was still new back then. You know what I mean? So with that being said, they did a lot. They're not really seen as that. Now, once again, Two Life Crew was never looked at as lyrical miracle people or anything like that. They had nursery rhyme type haps. Matter of fact, on this album, there's a song called, let's see, it's something to the nursery rhymes. Yeah, dirty nursery rhymes. You know what I mean? They had real simple rhymes. However, I think that specifically Brother Marquise was dumbing down his lyrical capabilities because he's actually hard. He's a lyricist. He's hard. He has dope lyrics and stuff like that. But Fresh Kid Ice, his were real simple. Luther Campbell's rhymes were real simple and so forth. But Brother Marquise, he could really hold his own. As I was saying, As Nasty as They Want to Be contains 18 tracks, right? Some of the tracks that are found on As Nasty as They Want to Be clearly aren't on As Clean as They Want to Be. Before we get in those tracks, we're going to go over a few things that you could tell the difference with As Nasty as They Want to Be. One of the obvious differences is you can see the girl's buttocks, rear ends on the front cover of the Nasty version. On the clean version, you can see that that blue bar going all the way across the derrieres, buttocks, whatever you want to call it. I normally don't talk that way, but I'm trying not to cuss. But you can see that bar going over there. All right. At this time, there was no such thing as parental advisories yet. Two Life Crew weren't responsible for that. That would be Ice-T later on. We'll get to that one day, just not today. However, they did write in the bottom, warning, explicit language contained. That was written in the yellow part right here where my pinky is pointing at. I don't know if you guys could see it or not. However, there was a somewhat of a warning, but not the actual logo label that we see today. That would be Ice-T for those. So that's one of the ways you could tell the difference of the releases. Now, there are other releases. These versions that I have here are on Skywalker Records. Okay, Skywalker Records, which is the logo right here, is the original Skywalker Records label. Now, later on, I want to say in the early 90s, George Lucas of Star Wars ended up suing Luther Campbell for the Skywalker name, of course. Obviously, he used Skywalker. George Lucas didn't want that name associated with anything in general, but especially not a rap group that deals with obscenities and all these things like that, right? So he wanted to save his brand. I don't blame him. You know what I mean? You don't really want your name associated with things. So later on, this was the last album, believe it or not, that you could ever find on Skywalker Records. There's other versions of the previous albums like Skywalker Records. Then you have Luke Skywalker Records. You know what I'm saying? And so forth. But for this album, you had Skywalker Records as the original logo. This was the last time you'll see the original, right? And then after that, it went to Luke Records. And then it went to Lil Joe Records. Before I go further into this album, let's talk about Lil Joe Records. Lil Joe Records is owned by, remember, there's lawsuits. Luther Campbell and the Two Life Crew were dealing with all types of lawsuits. They dealt with court costs and all the stuff associated with the Supreme Court, lawyers, all that. Then you had all the IRS going at them, right? Then you had George Lucas and Star Wars going at them, right? That cost a lot of money. They were facing bankruptcy. Now the tax lawyer, his name was Joseph Lil Joe, I want to say Weinberger. Joseph Lil Joe Weinberger took the case for Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke Campbell, hired him, thought that he was going to just sign over the stuff in bankruptcy to avoid losing his record label, and that this lawyer was going to give it back to him. That's what they say was the behind the scenes agreement. However, Lil Joe doesn't see it that way. He says, you went into bankruptcy. I had the money, bought the record, bought the masters, the original masters. I'm the owner of the original masters. And I created my own record label called Lil Joe Records now. And I am the sole owner of your masters. And the irony is, Luther Campbell hired him to represent him to fight the IRS and other people in court, right? Lil Joe took advantage of that, gained access to the masters and the ownership since 1995, and has been making money on all of the Two Live Crew albums since 1995. However, I know that Luther Campbell, the estates of Fresh Kid Ice, and Brother Marquise, before he passed a few months ago, they all filed the necessary paperwork, and I want to say back in 2022 to prepare for the 35th anniversary, because there's a 35-year law where those things, it's not automatically, it doesn't go automatically back to the original authors, writers, group, artists, or whoever. You got to file it within a certain amount of time, less than, I want to say, 9 years or 10 years, but before 2 years before the legal things expire, you know. So they did it within the timing matter. I don't know the outcome of it. Hopefully Luther Campbell, Brother Marquise's estate now, Chris Fresh Kid Ice's estate, and Mr. Mix, hopefully they are getting their rights though, but they haven't received royalties because of Lil Joe taking over their masters. First of all, we're going to go into the physical differences between the two different versions, the nasty version and the clean version. So one of the things I already said was you're being able to see without a bar on the nasty version versus the clean version right here. Okay, now let me dig into the actual CDs, the looks of them, catalog numbers, things like that. So one of the first things that we're going to see is the original. There's the Skywalker label, as nasty as they want to be. The catalog number, as you can see right here in the center, is CDXR107. This needs to be a yellow disc like this. It's like a lime yellow, like a key lime yellow, appropriately for Miami, appropriately for Florida, period, right? And let's see. Let me get this turned around. Maybe we can see a little bit better. The disc will look like this. Trying to get it as clear as possible, but that's called the matrix. It says CDXR107, open parentheses, V2, close parentheses, semicolon, I want to say, and that's it. So that's what the original looks like. It doesn't have yellow going all the way through. It has a break of clear right here, and then around the nipple of the CD as well. This is a very clean version and so forth. Now, if we look, as we know, as we were saying, the clean version, you can see the cheeks. This one, you can't see it. But when we flip these over, there's some more differences. One of the obvious is the Skywalker on the nasty version is located on its on my right side, your left that you're looking at right now, and the clean version is located in the lower my left, your right side right now. As you can see, the barcodes are pretty much the same. 0224712010776. And it's all the way the same until the last four digits, which it's 108 instead of 107, 3 instead of 6. Now, this has 18 tracks on here, the nasty version. We'll go through first what's not in common. What's not in common on the 18 track version is the songs Put Her in the Buck, D Almighty, Dirty Nursery Rhymes, Two Live Blues, I Ain't Bull Essin', Bull Crappin', we'll say, the F Shop. If You Believe in Having Sex is like one of those early call and response songs that I was talking about. My Seven Bizzos. Actually, My Seven Bizzos is on the other one, so disregard that. Get the F Out of My House. Reggae Joint. Fraternity Record. Bad Booty B. And that's it. What the clean version has that the dirty version doesn't have is the last song on Your Mama's side, which is You Got Larceny, Pretty Woman, City of Boom. Those are the only songs that this one has that the nasty version doesn't have. To me, you should have both versions because they contain songs that the other one doesn't have, which is why I have both versions. As stated before, the nasty version has a yellow disc. The clean version is a silver disc. And look at the difference. This one says Skywalker Records. This one says Luke Skywalker Records. As clean as they want to be. XR108. Remember that barcode, that UPC code? That's the 108 that they're talking about. That's how UPC barcodes work. And sometimes they coordinate with catalog numbers. All right, that's all we have on the physical differences. Let's get into some more stories about the Two Live Crew and what happened after or as the result of As They Want to Be, Nasty As They Want to Be. Now, with that being said, as nasty as they want to be, after they won the Supreme Court ruling in favor of First Amendment rights, they were found not guilty, I should say. Record stores were able to sell those records again. The other rap artists were able to continue using lyrics as they felt or pleased, I should say. Both good and bad, for good and bad reasons. They were able to say whatever they want to say. I still think we have a responsibility with what we say. But yeah, everything was done. Now, last week, I was talking about Too Deaf and his album Act the Fool, right? I graded Act the Fool probably a 5. I can't remember. I want to say it was a 5. But I'm going to grade As Nasty As They Want to Be and As Clean As They Want to Be. I'm going to give them a solid 8. Yeah, solid 8. Now, I also talked about us overusing the word classic album. I don't know if this is a classic album, but I'm going to put it up for debate. I'll put it that way. This could be debated as a classic album. You're saying, why, man? You just last week you said Too Deaf, the Too Deaf album, you weren't really into all that pimp stuff and that he was talking about, and you're right. There's a difference. I didn't grow up. I didn't get that album back in 1997 when it first dropped. I didn't listen to that Act the Fool, Too Deaf Act the Fool album until 2 years ago. I wasn't impressed. I'm a totally different person in 1997 than I am in 2022 at that time and since then, right? I gave it a 5 because of that. So you're probably wondering, well, why did you give this one an 8? And they're talking to Pimp Player, talking about women and all those things like that. And the reason why is I grew up on this one. I was listening to this when it dropped, man. I was in the 8th grade going into the 9th grade, bro. I was going to be a freshman in 89. I remember it dropped before the end of my 8th grade. And we were listening to this, and I have memories, which is why I put it in a debatable classic category. You know what I mean? I didn't have that experience with the Too Deaf album. Now, getting right back to this album, not the debate of the grade or if it's a classic album, but to the nit and gritty of this album, I'm going to rate it an 8, right? But this album and that Supreme Court ruling, finding them not guilty, led to banned in the USA, the Luke LP, featuring, quote unquote, the 2 Live Crew. Yeah, that's right. Featuring the 2 Live Crew. Somehow, Luke was separating himself from the 2 Live Crew. Now, I'm just going to say, man, it was all in the signs, man. There was problem running amok within the group. I think all those legal woes between being sued by George Lucas, fighting the IRS, fighting the state of Florida, the Supreme Court, and all that stuff, I think that stuff really got to the group. You know what I mean? It got to them. There was more than likely some infighting. That's not my story to tell, but that's what I could assume. But the telltale signs, the Luke LP featuring the 2 Live Crew, was a clear separation if you were going to pay attention to any of the signs. As stated, if you're paying attention to those signs, the group did eventually break up. They do have a few albums afterwards and so forth like that. I want to say 1 more album together. Might be 2. I'm not going in order. I'm going in alphabetical order, not numeric order. And what I mean by the numeric order, I'm not going in order of the release, like 1992, 93, 94, 95, 96. I'm not going in that order. I'm just going in alphabetical order. So this was as nasty as they want to be. The next one is the new... That's right, the new 2 Live Crew. Luke said, man, I'm starting a new 2 Live Crew. And in this group, it's no longer Luke. It's Luke. No longer Brother Marquise and no longer Mr. Mix. The Chinaman, a.k.a. Fresh Kid Ice, is still there. But there's a new rapper by the name of Verb. He's a great rapper, lyrical rapper. He brought a lot of stuff. But by the time this album dropped, the new 2 Live Crew, back at that for 9-4, back at that buttocks for 9-4, I wasn't feeling the group by this time. Plus, I knew Brother Marquise wasn't there, and I knew Mr. Mix wasn't there. It wasn't the same 2 Live Crew, man. I don't want no counterfeit, man. You know, if I'm going to eat sugar, dog, don't give me none of that dextrose, sucrose, you know, I don't want no Splenda. Man, if I'm going, man, go on a sugar binge, I'm going to get the real thing. And this was counterfeit to me. Nothing against Verb, nothing against Luke, nothing against Fresh Kid Ice. It just wasn't the 2 Live Crew to me. Plus, as I was talking about 2 Deaf, by this time I was, you know, I just really wasn't into 2 Live Crew or Luke at this time. You know what I mean? They had changed already. They had Cowards in Compton going on during this time. And it just wasn't the same, man. It just wasn't the same. I just got to be honest. It wasn't the same. So I never really got into this album. The album's all right. I have listened to it. I'm going to rate this probably like a solid 4. A solid 4. You know what I mean? It's a solid 4. This is the first, actually, it's not the first. I think Banned in the USA was the first album solely on Luke Records, not Luke Skywalker Records and not Skywalker Records, right? Remember, they were sued, but Luke Records. But this is the first new crew, the only one that they ever came out with, and it's on Luke Records. And then Prior to this one, I think they had the original unit together on one more. I can't really remember. I don't know if it's a greatest hits one, because I do have the greatest hits here. Right here. This is on Luke Records too. And yeah, it was As Nasty as They Want to Be Part 2 was the last last one that they had together as a crew. And that was under Luke Records. And I believe that came out after this one, to be honest with you. I could be wrong on those timelines. I'll look at that at a later date. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's 2 versions of this band one as well. Actually, there's more versions. I can't say 2. There's a lot of versions. But once again, nowadays, if you have Lil Joe Records, that's some re-release stuff. You have Luke Records, prior to As Nasty as They Want to Be, that's a re-release. Anything, anywhere from for As Nasty as They Want to Be, Move Something, This Is What We Are. Those albums the original should be on Skywalker Records or Luke Skywalker Records, because he sort of flipped it around on those. Okay, yeah. But once again, this is like a solid 4. You know, just because I just wasn't into him. I was into all types of other people. I was into Compton's Most Wanted, Brother Lynch Hung, Common Sense, A Tribe Called Quest during 1994. I was into Wu-Tang Clan, you know what I mean? Couldn't get off of that. That's stuff. I was stuck on Wu-Tang Clan. I was on MC8's solo album, not only Compton's Most Wanted, but MC8's solo album, Spice One, E40, The Click. I already said Tribe, you know, De La Soul still. I'm still rocking with them. Nas. I was rocking with a lot of people around that time. It just, you know, the sound of music changed around this time. So I just really wasn't into the call and response type of rap and, you know, just coochie rap. I was into other things. My life had changed by then. So, yeah, you know. However, they got the greatest hits. This came out, I want to say, in 1992 as well, after they put out As Nasty as They Want to Be Part 2, which is also called Sports Weekend. We'll get into that, I think, the next one or soon. I don't know what order it is. And I might only have that on long box format, which I didn't open. So if I don't have it in a regular CD, we won't talk about that till we get to the long boxes. But I do have them. Might need to get another copy now that I'm thinking about it, if I don't have it. But something tells me I still have it on the regular CD. We'll see, though, when we get there. Anyhow, I'm talking in circles now. But you know what, man? Yeah, I just hope that hopefully you guys were educated on this one. If you guys have any questions, concerns, suggestions, or any information that you would like to add to this conversation, please add it below. You know what I mean? I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You know, it's been a great time going with you guys. I love the participation that's happening. My followers are going up, everything like that. Please don't forget to go follow me on Instagram at menunderground.com. On Facebook at, I want to say, Men Underground Music Man is what it's called. And, you know, just check it out. Until then, I'm Mint. This is the 11th episode 11 of the Mint Underground Music Show. 2 Stokes. And I'm out.